Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast on all things recycle. That is, of course, recycle. Don't be a waster. In today's episode, I want to talk about some general chit-chat about return and earn schemes. Really just some thoughts I have on the topic and, just really querying or questioning the effectiveness and that sort of stuff. I think most states in Australia now have return and earn schemes, container deposit schemes. I believe they started mostly in South Australia. That's where it kicked off, really, in Australia. But they are accepted recycling programs pretty much internationally, and we'll cover a bit of that later in the podcast. Fundamentally, in very basic terms, you get a certain drinks container, usually a bottle or a can, and you put it into what is a reverse vending machine, which they're often called different names, such as reverse vending machines, return and earn schemes, those sort of things, and container deposit. And so you put the container, the drinks container generally, into the machine, and the machine spits out something such as, it can be money. In New South Wales, for example, it's 10 cents. You can donate that to charity. You can, take it and use it, for income, whatever you want to do with it. Obviously, kids love this stuff. It's a great way of incentivizing recycling. And like in my house, we incentivize the kids to recycle for pocket money. Obviously 10 cents a can, 10 cents a bottle, things can, mount up quite quickly. So I suppose in today's podcast, I wanted to cover a couple of questions. Firstly, does it actually work? Do these schemes actually boost recycling? Because I'll be honest, I had some questions about that. Secondly, could you actually make a living from these things? And thirdly, there's a handy new bag someone suggested to us recently, so we like to publicize that and give it a shout out on the podcast. So the first thing is, do these schemes actually boost recycling? Theoretically, the cans and the bottles that they focus on are very easy to recycle anyway. You can put them in your yellow commingled recycling bin for free at your house. You don't need to drive anywhere. You don't need to put them in the back of your car. You can simply dump them in your bin and they will get recycled. So I questioned, are we simply doubling up? Are we counting stuff that would otherwise be recycled? And to be honest, I think it's a hard one to really measure because, it'll be based on counterfactuals. Will things have changed? It is hard to estimate. But I suppose some of the facts we have, they sound very promising from what I'm reading. It began in New South Wales in 2017, and apparently the objective was to reduce the volume of litter by 40% in circa 3 years. At that time, they estimated that drinks containers were 44% of all litter in the state. By litter, it doesn't classify exactly what that is, but I'm assuming dumping on streets potentially. And they're arguing that there's been a huge increase in recycling. So there's a website called exchangeforchange.com.au, exchangeforchange.com.au, where they basically they go through all the details, and they've got a dashboard here saying how many items have been recycled, how many things have gone into the system, and the benefits of it. And they're claiming in the last quarter in New South Wales alone, 294 million containers were processed through the system, which obviously is equivalent to more than 1 billion per annum, which is pretty huge. And they're claiming that is a significant benefit on what would have happened in a counterfactual environment. Obviously, for that example, we have to look, some international, audits that have been done with some of these systems. And the company Tomra, who I think they partner with Cleanaway at many of the facilities in Sydney or in New South Wales, they also operate internationally. And so there's a lot of information about this stuff, internationally. They're claiming that, some of the information I'm reading here, that in some countries almost 100% of all drinks containers are recycled, which is pretty phenomenal, to be honest. The very first implementation of these machines was in Norway in 1972, and nowadays, obviously, what's that now, 40, 50 years later almost, Norway has a circa 97% recycling rate for cans and 95% for PET plastic drinks containers, again, which is literally phenomenal. Another European country here, Germany, has an extremely high rate. Their scheme started in 2003, so getting on roughly 20 years ago, and they're hitting similar with 97% of all plastic bottles returned and 99% of cans. We moved to a country, I suppose another country, maybe Lithuania, Eastern European nation, former Soviet bloc, and they implemented the scheme more recently, 2016. So just 1 year prior to the introduction in New South Wales, and they are claiming to see they've gone from at the beginning of the scheme, it was PET containers were roughly 34%, so a third, and then within 2 years it's up to 92%. So, like, if these figures are, and obviously we haven't audited these numbers, but they are pretty phenomenal numbers if they are accurate. I suppose looking here at a country that oftentimes is compared to Australia for various reasons, and that's Canada. They started in 1970, so obviously an awful long time before us. The latest figures are, and again this is from Tomra themselves, that is 80% of non-refillable beverage containers sold. So only one jurisdiction does not recover containers through municipal curbside. So, so basically the one state, or I think it's provinces in Canada, the one area in Canada that does not have them, it doesn't actually mention which that one is, but they have a 50% recovery rate versus an average of 80% in the provinces that use these systems. So, like, in all honesty, that's pretty phenomenal. Obviously, this is coming from Tomra themselves, who promote these machines, but that is, on face value, that sounds incredible and seriously worthwhile. So, it certainly seems to be something that we should be promoting. What I also like about these programs is that the 10 cents is funded to what I've read, based on drinks manufacturers. So the actual, it's a version of an extended product responsibility, the EPR system or methodology that we covered in a previous podcast, whereby the polluter pays. Not really the polluter, but in theory, the manufacturer, the company, the person who makes the material. In theory, they are incentivizing and helping close that loop and making sure there's a recycling option available for it. So, I think it's 10 cents a can. There are additional on costs in running it, and I think from just reading the website, it's roughly 11.2 cents per container is the cost of running the scheme, of paying the fee, and of maintaining. So it's it sounds to be a beneficial program, and I am actually surprised. But I suppose we move on to the next section that I wanted to talk about, and that is, I'm sure you see it, I see it all the time. I see people going up and down the street collecting containers, collecting drinks and cans in plastic bags, oftentimes in shopping trolleys, pushing them up, collecting huge numbers, and clearly doing it for money. And I suppose I've always questioned, I suppose that was firstly where I thought maybe they are, just taking stuff from the commingled bin, and it's really just cannibalization of recycling that would be happening anyway. I suppose an argument there is that the argument there is that when you use these return and earn schemes, the containers are cleaner, they're more likely to be recycled, the contamination level is much lower, and so that boosts the recycling. Obviously, these people are also picking cans up off the ground, they're finding them in hedges, etc., and it really is probably boosting the recycling. My question is, can you actually make a living or supplement your living with these with this sort of work? At 10 cents a pop, I actually don't know, but I'd be interested to hear what people say. I know dumpster diving, a lot of people are into that. It's increasing in popularity in Australia. There are various legal issues, state by state, and we'll not get into that. Pardon me. But I think you certainly can supplement your income. I certainly believe it's possible to collect an extra $50 a week without a huge amount of effort. I would assume with a couple of hours effort potentially, just going up and down the streets and picking up containers. I certainly wouldn't dismiss that it could be, much more than that. Fundamentally, if you think about it, if like a bottle of beer, a crate of beer, 24 bottles, if you had a party at a weekend, or that's certainly $2.40. And that's not not even counting going up and down the street. You add in the cans of Coke, you add in whatever else it could be, the milk containers that are qualifying. I certainly can see somebody making $50 a week, which is a nice supplement, certainly for maybe young people or people with a lot of time on their hands. So it probably incentivizes maybe that gig economy, you could almost describe it, to do that little bit of footwork. I suppose we'll finish off with somebody pointed out something to me that was I found it interesting. Recently, it's a thing called a refund bag. refundbag.com.au. So refundbag.com.au, and this is an Aussie company making bags designed pretty much for transporting and collecting your containers. It's a hard-wearing, durable bag. It actually fits inside your straps on basically to your commingle bin, so that you can utilize your commingle bin. When you go down to the bin, you can put in the containers that will be recycled through this return and earn, and throw the other stuff, like yogurt pots or whatever it is, wine bottles that don't qualify, into the remainder of the bin. You can then pull that bag out. I'm just reading the website, and we'll link to it in our show notes. Secure, easy fit, durable and washable, easily removable, self-standing for transport, no leak, no smell. And so, looking at it, it clearly is a useful invention. It fits a standard 240-litre bin, and it makes it easier, very easy for you to transport these things to the place. Clearly, one thing I've always noticed about this, we try to do it, speaking of the kids, we try to incentivize the kids, but then you end up having empty soft drink cans, etc., sitting around the house waiting, and maybe you don't get to the facility, the Tomra facility, as often or as soon as you like. So I think this is a great invention. We'll give it, we're giving a bit of a promotion here, and we'll link to their website also in the show notes if anybody's interested. So tell us what you think. Obviously, like and subscribe, and if anyone can leave a review on positive, hopefully, on any of the platforms, that of course helps us with the algorithms rank and get more listeners and keep that conversation going about recycling. So once again, have a great day, have a great week, and recycle. Don't be a waster.